For more on these events, I want to welcome on Bruce LeVell, a longtime advisor to President Trump and a media surrogate for the RNC. Bruce, good to see you again. I want to overlap these two different issues, that being the election and the idea of police and reforms a little bit. Starting with the election component, Kamala Harris is rumored that she might be the vice president for Joe Biden's ticket going into November. Of course, she has her own past as a prosecutor, but a lot on the left would say that she is not a progressive prosecutor, which in the Democratic Party may be hurting her possible chances. What do you think of the possibility of Kamala Harris being on that ticket?
Well, thanks for having me, Alex. Here, once again, Joe Biden has proven his pandering tactics. He went out there and says, well, I'm going to get a woman, I'm going to get a black woman. Hey, listen, at the end of the day, why not just the best qualified? But that makes too much sense. So, yes, she does have a past and a history in Oakland on prosecuting black men. She's not going to be able to escape that. The numbers and the record won't lie, and she can't run from it. But this is once again another level of Joe and his entire career pandering to Black America, making all these promises only for the get elected, and then we'll see you back in 4 years.
Yeah, and for all of our viewers, too, I highly suggest that they go look up that exchange between Tulsi Gabbard and Senator Kamala Harris during the primary debate, where the prior candidate really came after Kamala Harris for her record as a prosecutor, saying that she withheld evidence for people who were on death row. She didn't always necessarily prosecute the case in a fair and honest manner. That's, of course, Tulsi Gabbard making these allegations, but they existed even before that. And then Kamala Harris also taking aim at Joe Biden during those primary debates as well. And a lot of people are saying that could come back to haunt her in the Biden campaign. There's some people in the Biden campaign who still aren't over that. But do you think that Kamala Harris would be the type of person that could bring the two sides together, that being the more moderate brand of the party and the more progressive brand of the party? Or do you think that this is just kind of a safety net for Joe Biden?
Well, it's a safety net. It's a pandering 101 textbook, chapter 5 in his playbook, and it's called Pandering Joe Biden 101, Alex. And, here we go. There was some polling out there that said, that they didn't really care what gender or who it was, whatever. But, Joe seems that the progressive or the radical left is putting so much pressure and pretty much telling him who he needs to pick. So he's gonna pander, and he's gonna hope and pretend and pray that when she confronted him on that stage in the Democrat primary about his long list of racial comments that he's got on his record and calling him out on busing, which she made it very clear. You're absolutely right. It's going to be hard to run from that.
And when we talk about the idea of police reforms, too, I mean, the biggest police organization in the entire country came out and endorsed President Trump after, I believe, endorsing President Obama for the two prior elections. And I don't think they endorsed anyone in the last one either. But when it comes to the national convention as well in Milwaukee, we are hearing that over 100 different police groups are saying that they don't want to provide their protection, their services at that event any longer because of the stance that the Democratic Party is taking towards police. Should this be a wake-up call for them going into the election year that not only police are affected by this, but perhaps a lot of moderate and independent voters aren't on board with what they're expressing when it comes to defunding or reforming police?
Yeah, this is sending a really bad message across the country. Defunding, diverting funds, or how you want to categorize it, still, quote, defunding. And it's making the confidence of our great law and order, our law enforcement officers across the country, just like, why am I doing this? Why am I risking my life? People forget they bleed just like we do. They have families, they have children, they have spouses. They're just like ordinary people like us, Alex, and they wear that uniform. But if we keep this craziness up, taking measures away, for example, debating taking pepper spray from them, are you kidding me? When we need every tool for that officer in the toolbox to combat any aggression towards them or another person to save their life, those are tools. And so these things are being talked about all across this country about taking things away from them. So, yeah, I don't blame them. Any moonlighting or jobs they do, extracurricular, outside of their 9-to-5 duties, they're going to stop doing it because it's like, I wouldn't do it. So I hope that everyone comes on board and get away from the silliness about defunding police or worrying about what agency comes to your town. It doesn't matter. As long as it's safety. Listen, if there's no safety, Alex, and security, there's no economic development for nobody.
No.
Period.
And you and I have talked about this multiple times. When you follow through on those practices, you're hurting people of color in inner cities. You're hurting small business owners and immigrant populations. Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this, and the evidence is 100% there. I mean, anyone can go look it up within themselves. And I think even when you talk to moderate, independent people, people in the suburbs, just the casual voters, they want law and order. They want the security that you were just talking about right there. They do maybe are open to reforms and things like that nature, but doing away with police, I think that's something that is overwhelmingly rejected by a majority of Americans. But Bruce LeVell,
Yeah.
it's always a pleasure having you on, talking about these issues. Thank you very much for joining us tonight.